This book, which has just been published by the National Institute for Science, Law, and Public Policy, is available. Fifth Generation Wireless, Technological Revolution or Pandora's Box. So I have 4 questions I want to address off the top here. What is 5G? Well, although it was described earlier as what will be, we don't know for that for sure because it's a lot of promises. It's not finished yet. The standards aren't set yet. It is a lot of, there's an awful lot of high hype factor with it because it's, as I will describe, it's a big promotion by the industry. So it's really hard to tell exactly what's real and what isn't. But it's not there yet. And we might want to think about it before we let that happen. The promise is higher speed, lower latency, and more cell density and antennas. Latency, by the way, is the response time. So when you push a button, how quick does your response come back? That's what latency means. In reality, I think that there's a good case to be made that it's really about advertising. It's about more advertising, video games, virtual reality headsets. It's about selling more chips, software, and collecting more data on people, and not so much about consumer demand. It's driven, who is driving 5G? It's being driven by the telecommunication carriers, Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, a triopoly of corporations, and it's also driven by the semiconductor industry and the data and media and advertising industries. It's not driven by consumer demand. What are the risks? Health, costs, net neutrality, democracy. As was mentioned earlier, the FCC and state laws have been engineered to force this into our communities, and without adequate research, without adequate studies, it's a matter of making money. It's all about the money. It's a massive experiment with the public as the guinea pig. They don't really know what the effects of all this technology is going to be. And there's another risk is the lack of an alternative to 5G, and that's what I'm going to talk about. What is the alternative? Well, the case I make in Reinventing Wires is wired networks, particularly optical fiber, to every premises, to every home and every business in the country, owned and controlled by the local community, not by large corporations. That's the best way to deal with the problem. And then if you want 5G or 4G or any kind of wireless services, which everybody has a need for generally, you can have it can be optional. It's up to you rather than the corporations. My report, Reinventing Wires, basically, this is an executive summary of the report. The internet has become one of the most, you can download electronic copies of the report also. So the next slide. Consolidation and market power. That's what this compares wired and wireless. Internet access, my report makes the case that internet access has been hijacked by commercial interests. America is down to number 17 among the developed countries in internet access. The services in this country are dominated by a triopoly consisting of Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T. They keep access slow, scarce, and expensive. Wired service was regulated networks have been disadvantaged and neglected by policy decisions, particularly the Telecommunications Act of 1996. The money for supporting the wired infrastructure has been diverted to support the wireless infrastructure. And the carriers have repositioned themselves from wired carriers to wireless, but I should also point out that the wireless requires wires. It requires optical fiber. All the cell sites have to be connected with optical fiber. So they've just used that optical fiber not to bring it to your house, but to bring it to the cell site. The wireless smartphones are being oversold because wireless is more profitable. Wireless is unregulated. Wireless was unregulated, and the phone companies basically diverted their resources to supporting the wireless services, and the cable industry was always unregulated. Wireless is not a substitute for wires. As handy as it is, it can never have the performance of a wire, either a copper wire or of optical fiber. There is a push by phone companies to decommission the landlines so that you'll be, as this was just mentioned, so that you will be forced to sign up for wireless services. Okay. So it's about consolidation and market power. The 5G is a mirage. It's overhyped, and it's not needed. 4G will, as the chart earlier showed, will be around for quite a while, and it does a pretty good job, especially if you don't need to get those fast ads. The 5G is about selling ads, chips, applications, and personal data. And if you've been following the discussion around Facebook recently, there was New York Times ran a huge article just 2 days ago, and there's been a whole chain of articles that have come out on that just in the last couple of days about what's really been going on and how Facebook has been a source of invasions of personal privacy on a massive scale unimagined before. So it's all about the video and the ads. 5G is a technological gamble, as you've heard a little bit. The millimeter waves, the frequencies proposed to be used by 5G, are highly directional, even more so than the microwaves that are your present cellular phones might use. And the effects are completely unknown, as was described by my colleague earlier. Why do we need more deep fiber? We would need fiber anyway, because, as I say, the cell sites all have to get their backhaul, what they call backhaul, or data into the network, into the telecom network runs on fiber. It doesn't run on wireless. People have the illusion with a cell phone or a smartphone that they're talking directly to the cloud, as we call it. Well, that's not the case. You're just talking a few hundred feet or a mile or a couple of miles to a cell site. And then it goes into a network of fiber that connects to the mythical cloud. It's really connecting to a server somewhere else using optical fiber. So why not just bring the fiber to your house? It makes more sense. And your office, so you can run a business out of your house if you want. It's been done. It's being done all over the country, and there is a national movement to do this. The town next door to me, Longmont, Colorado, is the latest example of the state-of-the-art in optical fiber. The locally owned, municipally owned power company ran optical fiber to everybody in the town along with their electric wires. and they can get 1 gigabit per second, both directions, up and down, for $49 a month from the city. I mean, why would we want why would we want anything else? I mean, you can still have a cell phone, but you just don't use it the way that you would use it in your home or office. If you're really doing something serious, you need to have that kind of access. The Internet of Things is a great buzzword these days, and you saw a chart earlier that showed some of the mythology that's emerged around that idea. But it's really a fallacy because, and I work on this all the time in my engineering work, and I work on technical standards for this, but it doesn't require the kind of performance of 5G. It does not require, because it's not for distributing advertising. It's just for remote control of things and sensing things. Something I'll mention in a minute, which is the smart city concept. You don't need 5G for the Internet of Things. The issue here is not about whether we will have fiber networks in our cities and towns. The question is whether they're going to come to your house or not, and who's going to own and control them. That's the issue. And 5G is about having your access to the internet controlled by one of 3 large corporations, or whether you're going to own it yourself and your community will own it. So, local municipal fiber, well, everybody needs wired access first, and then you might want to get wireless services but wireless is really for things that move. That's where you really need it. But if you're working in a stationary location, the fiber is much better. Fiber has become a basic public utility. I look at access to the internet is comparable to having water service, for having sewer service, paved streets, things like that, and optical fiber, and then electric power probably. It needs to be under the control of the local community. Let's jump to the next one. I'll just skip over this. I'll cover this in a minute. Let me jump down to some of this. I mentioned some of this already. I'm going to jump down to, I have a list of 13 reasons for fiber, and there's a chart out in the lobby there, and you might see some placards around here that list these 13 points, and you might want to take a look at those. These are, I won't go into them right now, but those are on the charts, and there's a little postcard that's in the back that you can take away that includes a copy of this list of 13 points. It's a little card like that. Okay, let me wind up here with, let's see. There, smart city, okay. I just wanted to mention this in closing. The smart city is a concept that's important, but it's also one that's pretty tricky. The definition of a smart city, and you may hear this more and more, is the use of information technology to make a city work better. It's an organic system of infrastructure and applications, and that means, when I say organic, I mean it can grow and it changes. It is adapting to the needs of a particular city. So smart city is not a particular technology. It's a whole set of technologies. Now, the caveat here is that it sounds good, but beware. It's easily hijacked by commercial interests. And it's important that it be under the control of the community that it is affecting. It's more of a marketing concept than a specific technology. And corporations are interested in it because it seeks the municipal rights of way and taxing authority. And that's one of the things that's being preempted by these state and federal actions recently by the FCC is, in particular, is to take that away from you as a community. Interoperability and the modular integration of functions is a highly touted benefit, but it also has a downside you need to be careful of. An example might be that in making all these systems interoperable, for instance, you also make that data vulnerable to being captured or stolen or hacked. So you have to be careful how it's done. In any case, no matter what, the basic infrastructure for the smart city is optical fiber first, and not 5G or any other kind of wireless. And the next slide, and then I'll close with that. This is a laundry list, basically, of smart city applications. It includes public safety, water systems, making them work better, energy systems, smart grid, clean energy, smart buildings, efficient and friendly, transportation systems that work, health services, the delivery of public services, government communication, education and training, work at home and entertainment, voice communication services, travel reduction through teleconferencing and audio conferencing, and small businesses opportunities. The classic case of this has been the success of the optical fiber network, but installed in Chattanooga, Tennessee is one of the examples that people use for reinvigorating an old Rust Belt city by installing optical fiber and creating an economic boom that was worth hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. So thank you very much. I close with one more. Fiber first. Basic public utility like water, sewer, streets. Don't wait or you may get stuck with 5G. Put in your optical fiber now. Wireless is optional. It's a proprietary, walled garden. Wireless is for things that move. Local community ownership and control is vital. Thank you.